Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thank you guys so much for joining us for our last impact session of the year. But we're not going to be sad today. We're not going to be sad because we have had a good run. And as I said before, if you've joined us here, the Impact Series is a time of not only reflection, but also celebration and envisioning what 2022 and beyond will look like for the East Coast Greenway. So we're here to get excited. We're here to end on a high note and go out with a bang. And with that being said, it's not just going to be us. We want you to share your experiences, your suggestions, and your questions about the East Coast Greenway because we are covering 5 states and DC. We'll be starting at the north with New York and New Jersey with our New York, New Jersey coordinator, Louis Diaz. And then we'll be going to Delaware, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and DC with Daniel Pascal, who you have already seen before, who is the regional coordinator for for the Mid Atlantic. So, with that being said, again, we have a lot of ground to cover. So, don't be shy. Join us in the chat and give us your questions, and we'll definitely try to get those answered at the end. If you've been here for every single one, thank you so much. I don't know how you've been hanging in there, but we appreciate you. If you're new, sit back, relax, and get ready for an awesome talk with Daniel and Louis. So, with that being said, Louis, how's it going today?
Pretty good, Angela. Thanks. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So you joined around the same time that I joined, which was right before the New York City to Philly ride, which is a beautiful, amazing event that we've had here. It's our first year doing this at the Greenway. So talk to us a little bit about, what that event was like for you as kind of like your first signature big event with East Coast Greenway and what you've been up to since then.
Yeah, the ride was phenomenal. I had never been a part of an event as extensive as that, as large with over 300 participants. It was really exciting to see everyone get pumped up and excited to ride all the way from New York City down to Philadelphia. Everyone excited to meet each other, new faces, old faces. A lot of people were excited to see me, and I got to talk to folks who are in the area and network and really get to know what was going on in their neck of the woods. I got to ride for, I would say, about 2/3 of the ride across both days. So I got to see a lot of the Greenway route firsthand on my folding bike. Yes, folks, I did it on a folding bike. It can be done. I saw multiple Bromptons and Bike Fridays, so definitely it's all sorts. But it was really exciting to get out there and do it and meet people and really get involved. And since the ride itself, I've been engaging with other organizations in the area. The Bronx River Alliance, they had a Boogie Up the Bronx River Greenway ride back in September. So we rode from the Soundview House in the Bronx all the way up to the dam up near White Plains in New York. It's 23 miles each way. A lot of inclines. We had about 75 participants, and I helped co-lead one of the groups, and it was really exciting there. I've also been getting involved with the Brooklyn Greenways Coalition in the New York City area, furthering engaging more greenway development in the 5 boroughs. And pushing for more development there, and also working with the New Jersey Bike Walk Coalition in their work in the getting the Essex Hudson Greenway acquired by the state of New Jersey, which successfully it was within the last month. So we're really excited about that and looking forward to the developments there. And attended also a couple other ribbon cuttings in South Jersey um, and near Camden.
Nice, nice. So you've been busy, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
But a lot of exciting things, and I think the Essex, Essex Hudson Greenway map is behind you. Is that right?
that is.
All right, all right. So people are getting a firsthand view of what that's going to look like now that we're moving forward on that project in New Jersey. So thank you for that map. It
Of
was great.
course.
All right. So we're not just going to talk about New York City and New Jersey. Obviously, like you guys are already excited in the comments, and I love to see you guys excited. But we have another exciting city that was at the end of that ride, and that is a part of our route, which is Philadelphia. So Daniel here is our Philadelphia guy. He not only lives there, but he covers a lot more than just Pennsylvania. So Daniel, can you tell us a little bit about what paths and trails people should be knowing about and excited about in your area?
Yeah, absolutely. My region covers Pennsylvania down to DC. So that includes both Delaware and Maryland in between. there was a really exciting new trail that was built, and it's just about done. They're doing some final touches on it in Delaware. This is called the Elkton Road Pathway. So this is a really major transportation corridor, and it actually connects downtown Newark, if by way of some low-stress roads and the James Hall Trail there at the bottom of the screen. And you can see it going into the distance, and it actually goes over the Maryland-Delaware state border, which is really exciting because that is always a touch point for riders doing longer distances. They want to stop at those markers showing that they've crossed over a state line. So we actually have a trail that brings them from one state to another. And you can see all the icons that it's connecting transit to schools, to shopping centers, to parks as well. So this is a really useful and really, in parts of it, actually scenic, even though it's next to a big roadway. There are creek crossings with some really nice forest next to it. It actually intertwines with the Mason-Dixon Trail, a hiking trail through the region. So a lot to offer on this pathway against the western border of Delaware, next to Maryland, and not too far from Elkton in northeast Maryland there in Cecil County. And so we've got some other trails in the works too. The Frederick Douglass Path, I wanted to call out. This is the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge in Washington, D.C. And this pathway is 18 feet wide, and it's not just one. There's actually one on the other side of that bridge as well. So two paths going across the Anacostia River in southeast D.C. With some amazing iconic arches there. This was a really expensive project, a really long-term project that is finally finishing up. The paths are complete now, and they're open for biking and walking. They're separated from traffic, and they connect Anacostia, the neighborhood in southeast DC, over to the waterfront that's rapidly developing, has a new stadium that has the DC United team, as well as the Nationals playing baseball nearby, on your way to the National Mall. By way of a number of cycle tracks, paths that get you to the heart of the city. So kind of where that yellow highlight is where the bridge is with the paths. And this is part of a larger 20 plus mile loop of the East Coast Greenway. Those are the black lines kind of going in a circle into Maryland, into Prince George's County. So there's almost entirely on trail loop in formation there. The Met Branch Trail is also growing to the north there. And the Anacostia River Trail goes for over 10 miles into the Maryland suburbs. So if you haven't seen that bridge, definitely get down to DC and check it out. I'm trying to remember if we had one other one queued up, but we might not.
It's okay, no problem, no problem. So I'm going to bring Lewis up here as well, because you guys both actually have folding bikes, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. So we've covered 5 states in DC, so we've covered a lot of ground, and I kind of want to bring it back down to the local level for people who maybe have a folding bike, don't have a folding bike, but really just want to get out and about on the Greenway. So Lewis, I want to start with you again. What are some of your favorite ways to get out and about on the Greenway?
So some of my favorite areas are right in my backyard in New York City. So the Hudson River Greenway on Manhattan's west side, it's approximately 13 miles of paved greenway, beautiful views of Manhattan's west side. You're going from Inwood, Washington Heights. You go right under the George Washington Bridge, so it's a great view there. And then as you get down into Midtown and Lower Manhattan, you start seeing the city change, and you have the beautiful New Jersey across the Hudson River. Great views there. And then when you're so that's one of the areas I bike frequently, but also on the DNR Canal Trail in southern New Jersey, near between New Brunswick and Trenton. Great views, lovely trails. We're looking forward to when the trail is fully restored from the recent aftermath of the hurricanes a few months ago. So hopefully by the time the ride comes along, we'll be able to get on those trails again. Really excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited for the ride too. I'm sporting the jersey. Looking forward to getting back out there in May. And I guess to answer the question as well, I'm pretty close to Schuylkill Banks in Philadelphia. So the Schuylkill River Trail in downtown Philly, connects to the 30th Street station where Amtrak and SEPTA leave from. And so I end up taking that a lot and using the folding bike, biking down there, and it's easy to jump on and off of transit. As well as on the other side of the city in the Delaware River waterfront, there's actually a new trail right there. We've got incredible separated cycle track that's also separate with a new sidewalk on parts of it with new seating overlooking the waterfront, and totally protected from traffic. And it goes all the way down to South Philly along this pathway that's been built out in portions. So this part just north of the Ben Franklin Bridge there, you can see as part of the East Coast Greenway's connection to that bridge to get to Lewis's side of the river in New Jersey, where there's also the East Coast Greenway going up the Delaware River. So definitely get over to that area of Philadelphia if folks haven't made it that way.
Awesome. Awesome. Sounds like some scenic views up north in the Northeast region there that people can definitely be sure to check out, whether they're going the New York City to Philly ride, as Daniel was saying, or if they're just getting out and about in their region and want to explore some new places in their own backyard. So last but not least, I just want to end on a high note, end on a level of excitement that people can share with and carry into the new year, into 2022. So Lewis, I'm going to start with you. What are some things that you are excited for that will be happening in your region in 2022?
Well, beyond the ride, of course, in May, I'm looking forward to a new section of our complimentary route in the Bronx along the Bronx River Greenway in Starlight Park. Currently, construction is going on right there, and that's going to allow for completely separated off-road Greenway route connecting the existing off-road section just south of there in Concrete Plant Park, and then a northern section near Bronx Park. So it's going to help seal that gap there. And that's roughly about a mile of trail going on, and you have good views of the Bronx River. And when you pass there, there's the Bronx River House. So you can do free kayaking. There's all these programming and events that the Bronx River Alliance is doing out there.
Awesome. Sounds like we need to take a trip to the Bronx. Fun times coming. Daniel, what about you? What exciting things are coming to the Mid-Atlantic region in 2022?
Yeah, so there's a ton in the works as always. Some really exciting ones that have been maybe a little bit delayed over a while. There's one in Maryland, actually, the WB&A bridge over the Patuxent River. This is actually connecting Anne Arundel County to Prince George's County, linking two segments of the WB&A rail trail, it'll create about a 13-mile long trail. You can see actually in the map number 2 there, that little photo is the dead end currently. That is actually going out to bid for construction. I believe the website says 12 to 18 months for construction, so that could push it into 23, 24 when it's all said and done. Hopefully no more delays. I know people have been waiting on that for a really long time, but that will actually help us move the route. We've got a little arrow there showing that our interim route, while we're waiting for these trails to be built, looking for lower stress roads where there are options. These are not all low stress. That will actually move up to be on those trails of the WB&A. So that's really exciting. At least construction will hopefully get started in 2022. If not, get really far along so we can have an opening sooner than later. And then there's lots of gaps being filled in DC. That's where the number 1 is there. And then also in Baltimore, there's trails under construction and in planning in a lot of these metro areas. And there's really great progress with the trail coalitions around each of those areas, including Anne Arundel County. So this whole DC to Annapolis to Baltimore segment of the East Coast Greenway is actually over 2/3 done. So it'll be just about like 100 miles or so. So you imagine the type of weekend or maybe long weekend trips that folks can start taking that have transit connecting on the MARC line between DC and Baltimore. So some incredible possibilities are opening up in Maryland and DC, as well as throughout the region. So at least we'll start there.
Awesome, awesome. Lots of things coming into the, I guess, what we would call our capital city, DC. Lots of fun
Nation's capital.
times. Just real quick here, we have some comments rolling in, and we're going to get to those. But I just want to say for everybody else joining us, throw your comments and suggestions and experiences in the chat because we have plenty of time to answer them. And it sounds like Daniel and Lewis would be excited to chime in and give you guys some excitement to leave on this year. Charlie, I don't know if we're the most excited or if Charlie is the most excited because he is coming in with a lot of exclamation points. He says, hello, woohoo, Greenway. Let's end on a high note, but then start next year on a high note. And that's the kind of energy that we want to bring today. And I think you just understand me, Charlie. But he also comes with a question for Daniel. Can you talk about the trail being built under 95 by Old Richmond and Fishtown? I was by there today and saw beautiful lamps installed beside the path. Any idea when it will be open?
Yeah, great question. Love the enthusiasm. Thank you, Charlie. So that trail under 95, it doesn't always happen this way, but as part of the I-95 reconstruction in Philadelphia, they are building trails, and thankfully we get to be a part of that. So I think from about Lehigh Avenue down to around Aramingo, there's a set of trails that kind of snake through the trusses holding up I-95, and they do include some lighting, and we're really excited to see those open up. I believe it'll be sometime in 2022, but I've been wrong before on some of these projects. The timelines, they have so many different phases. I know 95 Revive is the website, so you can double check me on that, but I believe it's the middle of next year. Could be 2023, but I think it'll be towards the next year. So hopefully we can celebrate that with a ribbon cutting. And then that's not too far from Penn Treaty Park. There's a couple more gaps that the Delaware River Waterfront Corporation is working on, linking those together so that you can have almost a continuous route all the way to the Fort Richmond Trail, which is more in the Riverfront North Partnerships domain. So hopefully that answered your question.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so I think this is another one for you, Daniel. John Corin of Facebook says, WBNA Trail, oh, I don't even want to try to say that. Patuxent River Hiker / Bike Bridge construction bids are in and under evaluation. Construction should begin on 2022. And then they have a link to, I guess, more information about that trail network going on. Do you have any comments on that, Daniel?
I mean, John could be on this webinar with me because I get all my information from John, as well as the county and other folks. But yeah, thank you, John. That is really exciting to hear that the bids are in. And that trail network, that the URL there, AnneArundelTrailNetwork.org, is the larger countywide trail network that East Coast Greenway is only one part of, but it includes this trail bridge, as well as the South Shore Trail, the BNA Trail, but there's another number of other ones like the Broadneck Trail. So there's ways to go directly between DC and Baltimore, and then also, stop over in Annapolis. Again, lots of opportunities coming with each of these segments moving along.
Awesome, awesome. I think our next question might actually precede me and Lewis here, but maybe we can take a stab at it. It's from Barbara on Facebook. She says, looks like we need another way ride to see all the wonderful progress. What do you guys feel about that?
So I believe the way that's in all caps is week a year. So for a number of years, there are lots of riders who were seeing the Greenway in basically week-long portions, and they would do 1 week each year and see the next stretch of Greenway. And they actually finished up just, I think, only a couple of years ago. So maybe Barbara was one of those riders, and I apologize, I wasn't on any of the way tours, so I can't speak to them directly, but it is a great way to see the Greenway, do a portion at a time, come out, designate like a little bit, like a long weekend here or a week of vacation, see some friends in the city or town that we go through. Yeah, I believe that's the way ride.
Yeah, that's correct. Week a year tour.
Okay.
Yeah. Charlie just wanted to follow up and says, "Yep, thanks, Daniel." Risa Olinsky from Facebook says she looks forward to walking the trails. Do you guys get out and walk at all, or are you mostly cycling?
I'm definitely walking a lot, walking my dog more and more. And then there's a number of hiking paths that you can get to by the Greenway. So maybe I'll bike, park my bike, and then walk around. But yeah, walking is a tremendous way to see it, and you get a lot more details than biking.
And you, Lewis, you getting outside, walking mostly? I think you have dogs, right?
Yes. So the dogs don't really come on the Greenway because the Greenway is a little bit far from where I live, relatively speaking. But I do mostly bike the Greenway. But when I'm in Manhattan and don't have my bike, I do find myself walking along the west side.
Okay, nice, nice. So we have a question here about Greenway completion. So we talked about it a little bit in DC now that we're about two-thirds of the way done. But in New York, excuse me, in New York, how many miles of Greenway are completed, Louis?
In New York, that that one is probably you're looking at about half. The progress when you go into New York, you're already in Manhattan, you're in New York City, and Manhattan is mostly complete minus a couple, like, a mile here, a mile there. There are a couple chunks. But when you go into the Bronx, we're missing about 2 miles, and then the biggest section that still needs to be completed is in Westchester County. Westchester County currently is completely off on road. We are looking at options, hopefully in the future, for off road Greenway, and that's something that we're really looking forward to with our partners.
Nice, nice. Since you're also in New Jersey, there's a question about the rail embankment project. Can you give us an update on that project right now?
Yeah, so the rail embankment project, we've been making our partners have been making several inroads in getting that section protected. It's still a ways off from development and acquisition, but we are making great strides to get that section in the public hands so we can develop it for safe, equitable greenways.
Nice, nice. Willie from YouTube says, any news on connecting the Heritage Trail in Pennsylvania through York?
Yeah, so this one actually is a pretty long distance, almost spur trail. So the East Coast Greenway, um, we currently route onto parts of what's called the Northern Central Rail Trail in Maryland. And then on the Pennsylvania side, I think it's the York County Heritage Rail Trail that goes up to York. And that there is some funding actually to connect York all the way down to Baltimore. There was a feasibility study that was awarded some funding to Baltimore County, so that eventually you could bike, all off road from York, or walk all the way from York to Baltimore City. So East Coast Greenway does veer off to the east if you're heading north from Baltimore before you get to York, but imagine, that kind of loop that could connect York down to Baltimore. East Coast Greenway could take Baltimore over to Delaware, up to Philly, and you could do one, large trail loop, which is in the works because York has some connections going eastward towards Philadelphia. There's the Enola Low Grade Trail, the Chester Valley Trail that are already out there, and I know there's plans in the works to link that. So we are part of a much larger regional and national trail network. So it's exciting to see that progress.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So in talking about, I guess, a different way to connect Pennsylvania and New York, going back to the New York City to Philly ride that you're repping so well, Daniel, right now. Um, I just wanted to kind of talk about, we've had some interest in the Way Tour or the Way Ride, the week a year, and you talked about, well, maybe starting smaller, doing like a long weekend here, which is essentially what the New York City to Philly ride is. And you both not only rode during the ride itself, but also rode it to do signage and make sure that we had proper signage telling people where to go, and letting them know that, they were still on the East Coast Greenway throughout the ride. So can you talk to people about why, long rides like this are important, and how not only the way that we're doing the New York City to Philly ride as recreational, as fun, as a community event, but also how like the fundraising from this ride impacts our trail network throughout this region and other regions on the East Coast Greenway.
Lewis, do you want to take a shot at that?
Sure thing. So ultimately, this ride, we're getting folks out to see the Greenway firsthand if they haven't already. We're fundraising for further Greenway development, allowing us to keep doing the work that we're doing with our partners and the local, state, and even federal stakeholders, and ensuring that they know, if they aren't already aware, how important it is to build out, develop safe and equitable greenways that anybody in their neighborhoods can access. This allows us to connect with local organizations that perhaps weren't aware that they could get out on the Greenway. They can have programming events for their communities, and then also this tells participants, as they see the Greenway itself and they experience the ride. At the last ride, we had many people who came by themselves, and it was just them. They enjoyed it so much that they said, I'm going to come back and I'm going to bring more people and I'm going to bring more friends. We're going to have a great team. And this really spreads the word about Greenway development. And hopefully in the future, we can do other rides like this in other regions.
Absolutely. That really captures it well. I think it's one thing to look at maps, but to get to see it up close and to go on your own power between these two incredibly important and beautiful cities of the country, it's there's nothing like it.
Absolutely. So you heard it here, folks. That wasn't even scripted. So, you have more than enough reason to register early for the New York City to Philly ride. Merch is going to be fire as always, and you'll have plenty of opportunities to get out and see the trail for yourself and see the developments that have happened since the last year. So we really are excited to see, people join. We already have 100 registered participants so far, and we're excited to kick that up and go even further and have so many people joining us on this 2-day no drop ride between these two awesome cities. So thank you guys for telling us a little bit more about that. For people who may be interested in maybe even doing a through ride and meeting us on that 2-day trail, or just using this as practice for a longer ride, like you were saying, with the Week a Year tour, or even doing from Maine to Florida, if that's what they wish to do, which we highly encourage. So yeah, share your rides with us. Join us on rides if you can, and get in some Greenway gear. Like you see, we're all repping. I have the t-shirt. Daniel has a jersey. Lewis is rocking a sweater. I think that might be, a little style specific, but we got options for you guys. We have options for you guys. Risa Olinsky from Facebook is back. She says, love to mention the April walk with free walkers. Are either of you familiar with that?
I believe this is or maybe, I don't know. Their Free Walkers are an amazing group, and you should definitely check out their calendar because they have walks all the time in a lot of these parts of the Greenway. I do know of one that's gonna walk along. It'll basically use part of the East Coast Greenway and the Capitol Trail Network, which is in the DC metro area, going out to basically where the Anacostia River Trail meets the northeast branch and the northwest branch off, starting in Alexandria. So that's a good long day of walking, and I believe the other day is going south from Alexandria down the Mount Vernon Trail. But yeah, Lewis, do you know of any others coming up that are
Yeah, so the Free Walkers, they're doing 4 weekends in April and in May. One of them happens to be the same weekend as our ride. So while they're going north from New Brunswick to New York City, we're going to be riding south. So, but they also are having 2 other weekends in April itself where you do pretty long walks, but they're pretty fun. It's a good group of folks. So definitely, as you see there in the chat, check out freewalkers.org, and they'll be able to give more details about that.
Absolutely.
Sounds like we got a lot of love for the free walkers. I was not aware that this was a thing. So
oh yeah,
awesome to hear that. Jennifer is popping in saying love the free walkers for sure. And yeah, Risa just echoing that big walk on the Greenway. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's awesome. So we definitely have to do some calling out, some vocalization when these bikers are crossing paths. But that's awesome. That's something you don't get when you're driving in a car. So again, just another way to experience community along the Greenway. Um, Scott Baker says urban cyclists, 2,500 members would love to team up with. Okay, will this be possible in the future? I don't know if we can get that answer today, Scott, but we will try to get an answer to you in the future about future plans like that. Lauren Cohen Tepper from Facebook. She says, "Hey from North Carolina. Hey from North Carolina. I'm in Durham. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully, you will get out with us at some point and see other parts of the Greenway." But yeah, so I just want to echo a few things that are here in the chat in terms of one, merch, and two, donations. So if you are interested in buying merch, please get your order in by December 17th. That is Friday. We want to make sure that you get your order in before the new year. That'll be your last day to order for 2021. So, not only are we doing our last Impact series, I know you guys want to see us back next week, but we don't have plans for that. So we want to make sure you guys enjoy your holiday season and get some gifts. Give the gift of the Greenway this holiday season. Secondly, donations. So you guys have been with us for 7 weeks probably, and you can go back and binge watch all of our previous Impact Series talks. We have so many ways so many things that are in development right now, so many feasibility studies and design studies to grow the Greenway. And every donation makes a difference. It makes a positive impact on the work that we do to create access, safe access to trailways from Maine to Florida. So their donation link is in the chat right now. Please be sure to donate. We appreciate all of you for joining us here today. And we will definitely take your feedback into consideration as we grow the Greenway, because we want you guys to help us. We can't do it alone. We really appreciate you guys joining us today and joining us in our work. And in 2022, we can't wait to see you. Can't wait to keep this excitement going. And thank you so much to Daniel and Lewis for joining us today and sharing some insights on our last 5 states in DC.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.